African history, as people understand it today, essentially starts with Egypt and people's fascination with the pharaohs, the pyramids, the gold, the decoration, the hieroglyphics, the impenetrability of the hieroglyphics. So Egypt became a kind of, in the 19th century, became an obsession to the point where Napoleon invaded Egypt and wanted to make it French. So that is how much people were obsessed with Egypt. But actually, by the time that people became obsessed with Egypt, there had been decades, centuries of contact with Africa. So in fact, Egypt is a false starting point. The real starting point of African history is actually biblical, believe it or not. Moses was in Africa. So if any of you are interested in reading it, you can read Sigmund Freud's book on Moses and monotheism, in which he says, isn't it peculiar that the founder of the Jewish religion was an Egyptian and who took the children of Israel out of Africa, essentially out of Egypt. So the Bible is actually one of the oldest sources of information about Africa. And linked to the Bible are decades and decades of literary texts written by Arabic travelers who were often taking caravans across the African continent, across the Sahara. And many of them would write about those trips. So if one can say, where did African history begin? It begins with writing and people writing about African history. The Greeks wrote about Africa. The Hebrews, I will use the term Hebrews because it's in the Hebrew language. The Hebrews wrote about Africa. And then you have the Arabs writing about Africa. So those three sources from pre-modern times, Greek sources, Arabic sources, and Hebrew sources, became the foundations of African history. So essentially, people would read Herodotus, who was a Greek historian, and say, whoa, Herodotus says on the African continent, there are people with eyes on their chest. And they would go to the African continent expecting to find that. And people would read in the Bible about the Queen of Sheba, and that she had traveled all the way from her kingdom to go and listen to the wisdom of Solomon. And they'd say, whoa, we have to go and find the Queen of Sheba. People would read in the Arabic sources about slavery, and they'd go, whoa, we have to go find this place where there's a source of slaves. And so people would come to the continent essentially looking for the evidence that they had read in either the Arabic, the Greek, or biblical sources.